What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Patros Podcast, Christmas edition, as we embrace healthy masculinity. My name is Allan, Pereira, Jeff Ford, and of course, you guys already know Luke Sawyer, one of our premium guests.
Merry Christmas. So premium.
Yeah, I'm just putting words on it.
What
Cheers.
makes me premium?
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. No, use your cup. Use your cup.
Giant water bottle? Use the water bottle.
Feliz Navidad.
Woo! Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
This can't be how we're starting this
Feliz
podcast.
Navidad. Yo espero año y felicidad.
So we're starting the podcast with the one guy
I
in this
wanna
group who
wish you a
doesn't speak
Merry
Spanish
Christmas.
singing.
That's the great
Christmas
part
is
about it. I can
Merry
actually,
Christmas.
I can participate in a Spanish song.
Merry Christmas
From the bottom of my heart. Didn't it?
This is modeling authentic masculinity.
Hey, listen, I would like to say that
Yeah, have a
real
good
men,
time, yo.
real men sing.
in languages
They
that
don't
they don't know.
They don't have to sing well. They just have to sing.
He just speaking in
I
tongues.
say,
He didn't even realize he was singing
I
in
do agree
Spanish.
with that statement.
Yeah.
I do agree with that statement.
Yeah, we just
What?
gotta sing.
Yeah.
We just gotta sing.
Jeff didn't even know he was singing in Spanish. He was like, hear English.
Gift of tongues.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was about that.
No.
Speaking of
Uh-oh, here
some
we go.
Christmas traditions and stuff,
Yeah.
as somebody that this is like all new to me, like parenting and stuff, what do y'all do?
Oh, you want to go there?
Get right into it.
No, not there.
Okay.
Just other stuff, like traditions.
Traditions.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean,
Like some people travel every year to the same like mountain cabin. Some people do like games with family.
no, we're home and we usually put up lights. And by we put up lights, I mean I put up lights and I
Correct.
complain about it.
Correct.
When do you put up
around-
lights?
Around
Like, are you-
Thanksgiving, like between, like after, like once Thanksgiving comes, it's like that's the PTSD in my head. Like, oh, I got to put up lights.
So you don't do it after Halloween?
And you guys have two stories, don't you?
No, we don't.
you
They got
don't.
one
Okay.
story.
Do you have any of those sketchy areas that you're like convinced you're gonna die putting up lights?
No.
Okay,
I don't
that's
have
good.
those.
Yeah.
But
don't
I
either.
actually like those areas because it makes it interesting. I like heights.
That's
though.
fun.
You know, so I
likes
learned something
danger.
this year putting up lights, and I've hated putting up lights as well. But in past years, I have like got them really taut to the side of the house, and then stapled around the wire to get them in. And this year, I put up nails across
And
like
just hung it.
the facade and just hung it. I was like, this is so much easier. I did what it took
don't
me
have to
hours
re-staple it every
before
year.
in 10 minutes.
You stapled.
I stapled. I would staple right around the wire to get it really, really tight.
So
And I was like,
part
why
of
am I doing
That's
this?
a bad Christmas.
part of
tree.
being
It's
a
a
man
terrible idea.
is asking other men, what should I do?
Yeah.
Well, don't staple
Don't
the lights.
staple. Now I use the plastic little clip-on things, and I pin them to the roof. And honestly, I mean, it takes me an hour. It's not that big a
really
deal.
not that bad.
It's really not that
I knew
bad.
this guy in Colorado who, when he built his house, he had his Christmas lights installed. So he just pressed a button, and they would just come out of like
Genius.
behind the gutters.
So there's like a big
Genius.
thing about this right now. You
Really?
can get permanent lights. Now they don't do that. They don't like come out the thing.
That's so random.
But no, like, and it's all remote controlled, and so you can change it to however you want based on the season. And they're taut, and they're equally spaced, and they're beautiful. It's also $6,000. That was the quote I was
But
given.
think about
Yeah.
it.
I'm
But,
not doing it
but
for
when,
$6,000.
but if it's
No.
gonna last you like 10 years,
for sure,
and you start divvying that up, it actually probably saves you time and money.
it doesn't save time and money. It makes me
No.
spend time and money.
Correct.
Why?
Well, it makes me spend money. It may save me time.
But
Yeah.
the time,
But
the
over
time
the
isn't
years,
worth,
that
time
starts-
isn't worth the money. I mean,
Think about it.
$6,000 for. I mean, it took me 10 minutes. Takes Jeff
Did
an
it take
hour.
you 10 minutes?
It took well.
Took me
it
an
took
hour.
me. It took me half an
calling
hour,
cap.
but it took me half an hour. But I had the 8-year-old and the 3-year-old helping. It would have taken me 10 minutes, but
Yeah,
I
but
let them help
see
me.
this? Okay, really quick. Someone gets injured one year. Boom, you're another couple grand in. That saves you no injuries.
I don't know that there's a good argument to be made for permanent lights.
I don't even have a house.
Actually, if you have $6,000,
I'm saving money on that.
I support that.
Yeah.
If like that's a
No
disposable
injuries.
thing for you, but it's not disposable for me.
And it's not for me either. So there's no
That's
good
not-
argument in my life.
I don't have that kind of money.
Do you have to buy Christmas lights every year?
No,
Okay. So they
I mean
don't break?
strands will go out, but
Yeah, see?
Yeah,
they're like next to nothing.
but you want to always buy them after Christmas. Right?
That's what I'm figuring out. You just buy all your Christmas stuff.
Buy everything after Christmas, and then you just save it for the next
What
year.
a hack.
I feel like we need to redirect us back towards.
Don't worry.
No, that's good. I mean, these are things that young men listening to this, they don't know.
I guess that's valid.
They're not homeowners.
You didn't know. Don't staple. Just
That's
nail.
true.
And now you know.
Right.
So now
So
I
we
know.
just saved somebody, you, when you own your first home, all that time. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'll just start chalking away your money so you can spend $6,000 to put up your lights.
No. You pay someone that's not legit, and you pay $1,000.
Or you do that.
Apparently, also an option.
So Christmas
Yes.
is upon us, and hence my green shirt and my red pants that you can't see if you're listening to this while you drive. Also, my Santa hat,
I was going to say predominantly your Santa hat.
which you also can't see if you're driving. I was a little late to production today. I own a farm with some friends, and I was actually there getting a friend, or actually one of the young men that works with us in our aged out program. I was giving him some work, and so I met him up there. And I'm like, man, while I'm up here, I'll feed the animals so my wife doesn't have to do it. And so I go into the chicken coop. We have 3 of them, and I go into the last one, and literally in one of the boxes where the hens are supposed to be laying eggs is a friggin' possum. And his teeth are so sharp. And I'm like, what are you doing in here? And so
Wait, are possum like aggressive? I only see them dead on the road.
Yeah, they'll go after you.
They are aggressive.
Oh,
and
like they'll bite?
They are fast.
They're fast.
Is that why you could just kill them? Like you're allowed to kill them? Are you allowed to kill them?
I would assume I
If
have
he's-
killed them.
if he's
so I
threatening-
assume you're
They're
allowed to
farming,
kill them.
right?
Yeah, if
They're
he's threatening
vermin.
my hens, of course I'm allowed
Now,
to
you
kill
did
him.
come in here and say the manliest thing I've ever heard,
Which was?
which was how you were going to attack said possum.
Well, I bludgeoned.
No. Didn't you say you were going to try to
possum.
put it in a headlock?
Oh,
Just do Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
I was
with
gonna
a
try to.
possum.
I was gonna like my thought was, I mean, I didn't have a gun or anything, so I'm like, how am I gonna take care of this thing? So I thought, well, I'll take a shovel
You need a BB gun.
and I'll just slice him, I'll cut off his air supply. That's what.
not what you said. I thought you said you were going to
Jeez.
put it in
Wait,
a
is
headlock.
Liza okay with you
No.
doing that to a possum?
I think. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Because I know she
she was freaking out
animals-
about it, but then she was like, "Oh, that
Well,
farm
after
is a
you've
farm
lost-
of death."
he's a
After
threat.
you've lost 29 chickens, you want to get rid
But
of
we
the
have lost
just-
we've
it's
lost
justice.
almost 30 chickens.
Yeah.
So if it was the guy, he deserved it. And what I learned through this process was that if you're going to commit murder,
Oh my gosh.
you would not want to bludgeon someone because the evidence is
Messy.
everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, did
very
you have to
Wait,
take
do you
your-
have it
But
on
I
you?
have on red pants as divine sovereignty would have it. So therefore, while DNA would show it, it didn't really ruin my pants.
So are you sitting here with possum blood all
There's
over your
very good chance I got possum blood on my shoes and pants. It was all over my hands. It might be on my Apple Watch. I don't know. Hopefully I cleaned it off. So anyway, Feliz Navidad.
pants? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's how I had to start my Christmas podcast day off. But we wanted to start this. I mean, we've kind of dubbed this podcast as shepherding your family through Christmas. So what's a man supposed to do? And one of the things that I have found disturbing is that we lie to our children, number one, and also that we sing songs that are actually untrue. And they're like these wonderful Christmas songs that we sing, and we're like, wait a second, that didn't happen. And then finally, we put up nativity sets that do not reflect
Completely inaccurate.
what actually happened. And so I know for me, when I found out later a lot of these things, I was disturbed. I was disturbed because I felt like I had been lied to. And it's just funny because we do this thing. And listen, if you teach your kids that Santa Claus is real, I'm not dogging you. This is my personal take. So don't think I'm dogging you. I just know for me,
You're a liar.
I'm a liar?
No.
Oh, they're a liar.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not judging you, but you're a liar.
Oh, I'm totally not doing that. Allan's doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that for me, the reason I'm not doing it is because when I grew older, I came to find out these things, and it was disturbing to me because I felt like I'd been lied to. So I'm going to touch on what I think is maybe the biggest one, and then And then we are going to talk about the nativity scene, because the nativity scene has a couple of them, out there.
Yep.
So number one, debunking Christmas myths, is that Jesus was born on December 25th. Now, if this is the first time you're hearing this and you're like, wait a second, we celebrate Christmas on the 25th. That's his birthday, right? And like when I was little, we sang happy birthday to you, Jesus. Like my parents made us do, that's what we did. And again, I like that. They were doing the best they knew how. And Mom, if you listen to this, I love singing happy birthday to Jesus.
Do you guys sing happy birthday to Jesus?
We don't.
Okay.
And if we did, we'd probably do it in September or October. Or maybe we would do it in March. Here's the thing. We don't know when Jesus was born. So anybody who says they know exactly when Jesus was born, they are lying, because you don't have any records that would actually depict that. Where this came up with, there's actually like a couple of different reasons why December 25th might be it. One of them is December 25, this is the most prevalent one, is 9 months after March 25th. March 25th often falls around like the spring equinox. So for you non-science people, the equinox is when our tilt of the earth is perfectly straight. So the northern and the southern hemispheres are getting an equal amount of sun. And so if you've come off a long, dark, dreary, Christmassy winter, of course it wasn't Christmas back then, but anyway, now it's like time to celebrate, because spring is here and we're happy. And so what happens is there is a sheep shearing that takes place. Okay. So sheep are sheared like in the fall and in the spring. And usually that comes with a lot of festivities, frivolity,
sure, perhaps
drinking, and all sorts of games.
Being merry.
People get pregnant is the point during sheep shearing times. And even if they're doing it all legit, it's still a time of festive behavior.
Yes.
And so given that spring equinox date of March 25th, that's how they kind of get to that number. And you can look this up online. There's several different folks that will say this. There's another tradition that March 25th was the anniversary of the creation of the world. And so, like...
Oh, dang, that's so true. What day was...
Yes.
Was it January 1st?
What was the date? But that happened to be...
That's crazy.
So that was another one. And then the other thing that really could be, and I think this probably is most likely as well, is that you've got the winter solstice is this pagan festival.
That's what I've heard most commonly.
Yes, and almost all cultures celebrate, something around the winter solstice. Yeah. And so it would make sense then that we would Christianize that. It would make sense then that as believers growing up in like this culture that is already celebrating this other thing. And if you think about it, winter solstice, darkest day of the year, Jesus represents light coming in, right, to the world. So that would make a lot of sense to me. Yeah. One of the things that is, that we have to, I think about is the shepherds, and I'll kick it to you guys with the nativity scene, but that's one of the other reasons that a lot of people think that he wasn't born then. And again, you hear the songs that say the shepherds keeping their flock by night and that it's this cold winter day. But most historians would say that the sheep aren't out during the wintertime because the vegetation is sparse, it's cold. So they're kind of in that hibernation kind of mode. And so again, probably September or, October or possibly in the spring. So what do you do with that? That's up to you. But if your kids ask, was Jesus born on December 25th? Very, very emphatically, no, he was not. But that doesn't mean we don't celebrate what his birth represents.
Right.
And we can't continue.
I'm all for actually Christianizing pagan holidays.
Absolutely.
I'm a proponent of that. So I think the fact that we're celebrating the birth of Christ is awesome, even if it doesn't happen to be at the time that Christ was actually born.
Correct. So, all right. So what do you guys got? The nativity. What's wrong about the nativity?
You're the premium guest.
Well, all right. So what do you guys typically see? You guys, do you either have nativity scenes?
Well, of course you do. In fact, I have an Ethiopian like clay. Yeah, that's great.
I don't know the races in mine. I think they're just Middle
Hobby
Eastern.
Lobby?
Well, it's Middle Eastern, I think. Well, they don't even have race.
His was made in Ethiopia and mine was made in Guatemala. But anyway, so what's in your nativity scene, Jeff?
Well, you've got a baby in a manger.
Right.
You've got Mary and Joseph. You've got 3 wise men. You've got shepherds. You've got an angel. And then we don't have this in ours, but usually there's like a stable of some kind.
Yeah, like
right?
a wooden
barn.
thing that's like this.
Yeah.
So we can talk about a lot of issues with the nativity scene. And I guess, Jeff, you might talk about the stable.
The stable is the stable. So go ahead. I'll come back to the stable.
Oh, I was going to talk about the wise men.
Oh yeah, go for the wise men.
Because and actually my kids were just in this little Christmas performance thing at church, and they had the wise men in the Christmas performance too.
So were the wise men at the birth of Jesus?
They were not.
Okay.
They were not. And so there's actually a couple scriptures that would lead us to that conclusion. So in Luke 2:16, this is talking about the shepherds specifically. So they are accurately represented in the nativity scene. It says they came with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. Luke 2:16, right? So then in Matthew 2:11, talking about the wise men, it says, and when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. So one, they're in a house. They're no longer in a manger and in a stable, right? And number two, the words in Greek, one of them is called the babe. The other one is the young child. So by the time the wise men traveled hundreds of miles after having seen the star, most likely he was around 2 years old by the time they got there, which would also make sense with Herod's edict to kill all of the children younger. 2 years and younger.
Yeah.
So the wise men were not at the birth.
And to piggyback on that, it's not necessarily the nativity scene, but Herod died in, I believe it was 4 BC. So if he dies in 4 BC, that means Jesus, in 2 years, he wanted everybody dead between 2 years. That means Jesus could have been born as early
BC.
as 6.
Right.
And then anywhere from there to 4. Then you piece that together with, and we can do this in Luke 3, because it talks about in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. And then it goes on to list a whole bunch of folks that we can go verify it through history. It says John began his ministry. Right. So John being John the Baptist, knowing that they were, I think, 6 months apart.
Yep.
Those facts make it that ministry began around AD 27 to 29. So now you piece that back with he was born 4 to 6 BC. Jesus probably didn't start his ministry till 32, 33, and he probably didn't die till 36,
Correct.
35, 36. So typically we talk about him as 33. Like I've heard
it too.
Folks talk about that 33, the number of hope, like et cetera. And that probably is not the case.
Correct.
And ultimately it doesn't matter. But I think why we're pointing this out is because if you're trying to shepherd your kids and now one of their teenage friends told them this, and they're like, what? And they never heard it before, and they get a deer in a headlight, like it can shatter you.
And they don't seem credible either.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and I think there's also something, too, as we shepherd our families through Advent, like, we have to know what Scripture says. And there's so many things that we just adopt from culture, but we don't have no idea why we believe them. Most people have probably never even thought about the wise men and where they were with the birth and not with the birth.
Yeah.
But even in those two passages, we see pretty clearly that they weren't there.
Yeah.
So.
Why do people assume that Jesus was 33?
Well, they assume that he's 33 based on like bad math.
Yep.
So like when the Roman Empire essentially came up with the Gregorian calendar, they were basing it off of Jesus's birth and death, and so they missed out on some of these details we just mentioned. And so and they're looking at the stars as well, and they're essentially it was bad math. And so what became then, they started at ground zero, and then he died in, roughly 32. So that part we do feel pretty good about. So that puts him at 32. If he was born in zero, but he was actually born before.
Before zero. Yep.
Yeah.
And they would count his time in the womb as being alive, right? In that culture or no?
I mean, that's a good question.
Don't some cultures
I need a rabbi here.
Yeah.
For that one.
Yeah. But that's crazy that they would get it wrong, having studied so much and known so much.
Yeah, imagine that. All right, what else is wrong with the nativity?
Well, wasn't it like there wasn't just 3 wise men? Well, there weren't kings, there were magi, right?
Right.
And then it wasn't just 3, but it's that they gave 3 gifts or kinds of gifts, but we just assumed that there was 3 there.
Yeah, I mean, we assume there's 3 there because there's
a whole
3 gifts,
crowd.
but we don't have a number of magi that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was the We Three Kings. So John Henry Hopkins wrote that in 1863, and it's based off of the fact that there were 3 gifts. Right. So that's why we see 3 magi in our nativities.
And what's a magi?
A magi would just be a wise man.
Yeah,
come from the Middle East. Far East.
But is it like a formal position within, like, the rabbinical whatever? Like,
no, because these were
what would define you as a magi? You know,
I don't believe they were.
No,
Jews.
these were Persians.
Yeah.
Persians.
Yeah, so they were Persians who were most likely influenced by the presence of the Jews, right? And so they had, in their quest for knowledge,
so they
read
were
the
Gentiles.
scriptures. Yeah, they were Gentiles.
Were being impacted by the work of the gospel.
And they read the scriptures, and they knew that this star was coming.
Wow.
So that's one of the other crazy things about Jesus's birth, that it does fulfill all of these prophecies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that you could really walk through with your children as well, is go, how many of the things that we find in the Old Testament were fulfilled in this one child's birth? That's a really fascinating study. Actually, I do have a lot of those on hand here. I mean, I can mention a couple now since it came up. But number one, Messiah was to be born. So for those who don't know anything about like the Jewish or Christian faith, I mean, at the end of the day, very simply, there was a Savior to come who would save the people. The Jews thought it was going to be save them from Roman oppression. But if you read the Old Testament, it was clearly that, and it was much more than that. And the and is what's more important here.
Oppression in general.
Correct.
The oppression of sin.
The oppression of sin and of death. And so someone to save us from our sin, like, which is essentially, if you think about it, saving us from ourselves. And so this Messiah was going to come, and there were things that had to happen. And so they were looking forward to this Messiah in the Old Testament. We look back to the Messiah to see the fulfilling. And so from us, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
They didn't really get it.
Yep.
And that's why Jesus was always saying, so like, for instance, in Luke 24, when Jesus is on the road to Emmaus and he's walking with the 2 disciples, most likely, and they don't understand it. And then he opens up their eyes and shows them that the Messiah had to die. And he walks through, like, starting with, so he says Moses and the prophets, and walks them through, like, everything pointed to Messiah, everything pointed to Jesus. Yep. Like, he is the Messiah. He had to die. But here were some of the ones, just, if you're going to go through this with your kids. Messiah was to be born in Bethlehem, and that was Micah 5:2, fulfilled in Matthew 2:1-7. Messiah was preceded by a messenger, so that's John the Baptist. Messiah was to enter Jerusalem on a donkey. Now, that's not his birth, but it's one that he fulfills. Zechariah 9:9, Matthew 21:6-11. The Messiah was betrayed by a friend. The Messiah was to be sold for 30 pieces of silver. Here's a Christmas one. The Messiah was to be born of a virgin. And that was Isaiah 7:14, fulfilled in Matthew 1:18-21, and Luke 1:26-35. Unless you think, the virgin is like, that just means a young maiden. Well, Mary was a young maiden. So whether it was, virgin as we think of virgin or just a young maiden, it was still fulfilled. And man, there's a bunch here on his death, but I think the point is, like, if you want to find these, you can go through these with your kids.
Or just sit in Isaiah 53.
Just
read Isaiah 53.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a lot of Jewish people, and it's similar to an atheist. Like, I know a lot of atheists, the way that they came to faith was by reading the Bible. And a lot of Jewish people, the way that they came to faith was trying to debunk the prophecies. And then when they read them, they're like, dang, how can I spiritualize away that he was crushed for our iniquities? Like, his hands were pierced. Like it shows the way that he died. If you go read Psalm 22, there's about 6 prophecies literally in there that are fulfilled, almost word for word. So you just kind of get to a point where if you want to be intellectually honest with yourselves, you have to deal with the prophecies. And I just think it's a good way of talking with your kids about the historical Jesus. Because it's a faith builder. Like it will build your faith. So
that's cool.
So here's one from this is not from the scriptures, but Jingle Bells. I hate to break it to you guys. It's not about Christmas.
I have no idea.
I found out yesterday because of our
Jingle Bells is about.
Yeah, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey?
Yeah, I know the song. I don't know what it's about.
Okay, yeah. Well, we sing it at Christmas. We don't sing it at any other time.
I'm really glad you told me what Jingle Bells was. By the way.
Well, the way you were acting, I'm like, man, this guy never heard about Jingle Bells. It was actually written by a guy in New England, and it was about the sleigh ride races that they would have after Thanksgiving.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he wrote it about then, and the second verse, which I can't find right now, was about a guy crashing in his sleigh. And so if you've ever heard the second verse, you're like, gosh, that's weird for Christmas, but it was about a sleigh race. So
anything after Thanksgiving's fair game for Christmas.
I was going to say that. Yeah. According to America, we're fair game.
Yeah, it is. So, all right. So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about stuff that this is a little lighthearted, and then we'll get into some serious stuff. Stuff that people hate about Christmas. These are lighthearted.
Okay.
Then we'll get into the serious.
Okay.
And I'll see if you guys agree or disagree here. So number one on this list is the song Santa Baby.
People hate that?
People hate the song Santa Baby. I guess
Why?
They don't like it. It's kind of sexualized. I don't know. And they're talking about Santa.
Baby.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, I mean...
I don't even you going
like
Santa Baby was really weird.
I don't know that I've thought about it before, but yeah, I would probably say I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
I kind of agree with
play
that.
it for the kids.
I haven't thought about it, but...
that song in like a really long time.
Yeah, but it is weird.
I think Snoop Dogg has a remix to it.
I'm sure he does. I'm going to pull that one up.
No.
For the peeps?
No,
okay.
We're good.
Number 2 on this list, The Polar Express.
Bro, what?
I know, bro.
Yo, we
haven't
already,
seen that movie in a long
the
time,
kids are
but I
watching it and they love it.
Polar Express is top 3 Christmas movies.
Why do people say
100%.
they hate it?
I don't know.
There's some creepy parts to it.
I think they say like
it's a vibe.
Yeah, it's a vibe. And I remember when I first watched it, I didn't like it because it was like, and this person says the animation is too lifelike and waxy. And I kind of get that. It's kind of a weird, like this came out in 2004.
You're just critiquing everything.
Yeah.
I know, but it is kind of creepy. Like the way that the characters, I could see how it's creepy.
Yeah.
But the storyline is
It's
so
cool.
good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like spiritual, Christological storylines in it too.
Yeah, like that one kid that's super impatient. He doesn't get to be the first present gift kid. Sorry if I spoiled it for you, but if this is your first time watching it, you're 20 years late.
Yeah, but it could be new to them.
Yeah. That's too bad.
Okay.
20 years.
Anyway, I was surprised that was on the list. Okay. This is, again, I hate Christmas. Things people hate about Christmas. The people who think Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Isn't it?
Well, they always play it at Christmas.
They do always play it at Christmas.
Yeah. And
I don't necessarily hate the people who think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. I don't agree with the people who say Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah. But then the next one on the list.
People just say it to like get on people's nerves now.
Yeah, and the next one on the list is people who don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So it's like this is just a matter of opinion, right? All right, this one, man, peppermint.
I love peppermint.
I like peppermint.
How can people hate peppermint?
Bro, are we just countercultural? Is that what we are?
That's it. No, I feel like everybody likes peppermint.
Persecute me for my peppermint.
Are you drinking peppermint right now?
No, I wish.
Oh.
That would change my day.
Man,
might
I
get
love
after
peppermint.
this.
And like another one on it was peppermint and chocolate. I'm like,
I'm a huge fan
Bro,
of
a
peppermint
white chocolate peppermint mocha from Starbucks all day.
so good.
We
500 calories though, so you got to be
Yeah,
careful.
I don't do the white chocolate though. I
The
do the
pretzels with the chocolate on them, and then the
little
coconut
sprinkles.
candy cane. Yeah.
I know. I know. I don't know. I mean, if y'all are listening and you don't like peppermint,
Yeah.
Don't listen anymore.
don't listen. No, please listen. just disagree with us. That helps the algorithm. Okay. This one I totally agree with.
What?
Elf on a Shelf.
What is that?
Are you guys
We've
Elf on a
never
Shelf?
done it.
What is
But
that?
we don't do Santa either. We don't do any of that
Is that
stuff.
the thing where the elf is like traveling around the house or something
Yeah, and
like
you
that?
like hide it. You hide it different place every day.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, I see people like post about it on
What does
social
it do?
media, but
What, it
Yeah, the
just-
kid.
it
You
leaves
hide
stuff?
it. You hide it. No, you just hide it, and the kid's got to go find it.
Oh, that's fun.
I
mean, it's
don't
weird.
know. I feel like
I just think
people
it's
do
weird.
other stuff with it, but I've never really tracked with it.
We just did something, but it wasn't Elf on the Shelf.
This Elf on the Shelf, like, is putting a cinder block on a Barbie doll. Like, this is
That's
the kind.
weird.
It's weird, right? Anyway,
This probably isn't on your list, but here's the one thing I've also recognized. Do you guys go back with your kids and watch movies from your childhood and then realize you really don't want your kids watching those movies?
Yeah.
And we just did that with
Shoot.
Home Alone. I'm like,
Home Alone?
Yeah, like, and I like Home Alone.
I like Home Alone.
But the kid is a jerk, and everyone's a jerk to the kid.
it's a really bad family.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we
And I'm
watched
like,
it
it's
recently.
Yeah, and I don't remember those parts from when I was a kid, but we were watching it
Wait,
with the kids.
you're
and
saying
it's-
Kevin's a jerk?
Yeah,
yeah.
like he's so disrespectful to his parents.
If my kid
Yeah,
talks
but
to
he
me that
learns.
way,
But that's the thing. He learns.
that's why there's a
All of your
redeeming
kids have been
virtue about
disrespectful
it.
to you,
Yeah, but
and then they learn.
Yeah, I'm
that's
still not
that's
a-
what I got from the movie. Because when he realizes, like, man, I want my family. That's the lesson of the movie. So you got to watch it all the way through.
Yeah, but then you're giving your kids ammunition by a 12 or 11
And how to
8-year-olds
protect themselves.
for things to say to their siblings.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Not-
all
not
it's
fan.
all a teaching moment,
So
right?
much creativity.
It is a
in that
teaching
movie.
moment. All of this is teaching moments.
Right. You watch a whole movie and go, now don't do any of that. I don't know how much of a teaching moment that. All right, this next
Yeah,
on the
you're
list,
right, yeah.
a colored artificial Christmas tree. Are you guys into that? You like the green?
No,
No,
I'm,
those are
I'm
trash.
the green.
Yeah. Okay.
We try to do real
gotta
Christmas
look
trees as
natural.
much as we can.
We-
but when we travel all the time at Christmas, so we tend to do artificial because we're leaving.
Yeah. We're some evergreens in this crew. I can tell. Okay. Advent calendars. Who hates an advent
No,
calendar?
I
don't
like
understand.
advent calendars.
What's
We
an
do
advent
advent
calendar?
calendars.
You don't do advent calendar?
Well, I don't even know what it is, so no. Is
Yeah.
it just like a
We
calendar?
don't do like like I grew up with like you get the chocolate out of the advent calendar
Yeah.
thing. We don't do that, but we have like an advent calendar that's like a wooden box, and it's got a different like thing for our family to do together every
That's
day.
cool.
So then it's like
I gotta do
December
that.
1st, watch a Christmas movie. December 2nd, like bake cookies together, whatever.
That's cool.
So it's all like
So is that what it is?
experiential
It's
stuff.
like it gives you activities to do every day kind of thing?
So yeah, but the advent calendar, like what I didn't know is that a lot of people grew up with what you're talking about, where you get the chocolates out, and they had no idea what advent is.
that I would say is definitely
You
accurate.
have to be intentional about teaching them what
So
Advent is.
let's just camp for just a second on Advent. Advent is originally and there's some debate about when it kind of came about, but at like 400 AD is kind of where it kind of starts to come out, and essentially it was a wreath, and they would put candles on it leading up to Christmas for that celebration. And over time, it got more decorative and more elaborate, etc. But essentially, there are 3 purple candles. So think about 4 candles on a wreath. There's 3 purple candles, and those purple candles are representing. It's like repentance. So it's like a penitence. And then you've got a pink candle, and that one is the 3rd week, which is joy. So do you know the weeks?
Yeah.
The first 2 are
Oh man.
hope and peace.
Yep. And
I
then
believe are the
third-
first 2. The 3rd one is joy. This 4th one, love. I believe that's it.
Let's look it up.
I believe that's it. And so the 3rd one is joy. And all of these are obviously like hope, peace, joy, love. These are things that we're thinking of fulfilled in Christ, right? And so it is an expectation. Now, the interesting thing is that the expectation originally was not on Jesus's first advent. And for those who don't know what the word advent means, it basically just means like an arrival, or like a waiting and an expectation. It's here, like it's an arrival. And so this expectation of his first appearance is what we celebrate primarily now, but it actually was for his second appearance. That's how it started. And really the first 2 weeks were about kind of that hope and that peace that he brings when he comes and he judges his enemies. So it's not what we think about when we think about, sweet little baby Jesus in a manger.
Right.
Yeah.
but that's so the Advent calendar is designed to focus your mind on the season, and really, I would say in our age, to take us out of the commercialized kind of spirit of it, right?
I did not know that it was focused on the second coming, not the first.
Yes,
that's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, because we don't typically think of judgment as a
thing to hope
Christmas.
For. Yeah,
Right.
Christmas miracle.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You were right, by the way, though. It's hope, peace, joy, and love. I couldn't remember.
Peace, joy, and love, yeah. And then the fifth one is goes in the center of your wreath, and that one's white. That candle is white, and that candle represents the purity of Jesus. And so the calendar, so when we were growing up, we actually had an Advent calendar, and we use it every year, and it's one of my fondest memories growing up. So, Mom, you did this one right. Mom, Dad. But it was actually, well, ironically, a stable.
Which you didn't even touch on that one yet, by the way.
It was stable. Oh yeah, it was a stable, and it had, but it had doors in it, and so each day you would open up the door, and you get like a different animal or a different character in the story, or whatever.
Do you have wise men in the Advent wreath?
Oh,
or the Advent stable?
Of course there were.
Oh, dang it!
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be? They're wise.
Yeah,
but they weren't there.
But they weren't there. So anyway, that's Advent, and so I was surprised recently when I was talking to some friends, and they just did the candy thing. So I didn't know anything about the candy thing. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But that's like what most people do. Is the
candy thing?
Yeah,
it was like a paper kind of calendar thing with plastic on the inside that had like a different chocolate every day.
Yeah, and you just pull out the chocolate. Yeah. And so like we actually did that this year with the kids, which we've never done before.
That's why America is 50% obese. Start them young.
Just Christmas season. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But I think Advent calendars I think they help with children if you do it the right way. If you do it in the way where you're just pulling out chocolate, then I would say don't do it. But if you're trying to shepherd your kids into an understanding of the holy, an understanding of the mystique and the majesty around Christmas, this king born as a baby, I think the Advent calendar.
Which I have a question for you guys, because both of you have now parented through at least up until. Do y'all want to hear more of that conversation? Well, you can by becoming a Patros subscriber. You'll get exclusive member-only content. Just go to the link in the description or go to the Patros website.
Yeah, and when you become a subscriber, what you're telling us is that you enjoy this content and you want to hear more of it. So every dollar that you give helps us do just that.
So thank you again for listening as we just together go on this journey of embracing healthy masculinity.